just, there are people who just make as many patents as they can and hoard them essentially, so that as soon as someone comes out with something that they think is original, it's already there, and they have to essentially, I don't know what they do, I think they sell it or something. It's like it's a thing, patent trolls.
All right, well, on that note, we'll get going. Call to order the Landmarks Commission meeting for Monday, June 10th. I'll start with the roll. Susan? Veronica?
Present.
Justin?
Here.
Ron? Ian?
Yep.
David?
Present.
And Paul is here. So we do have a quorum. First item on the agenda is item B, is the approval of tonight's agenda. Does anybody have any comments regarding the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, approval of the minutes from the May 13th, 2019 meeting of the Landmarks Commission. The minutes were distributed in your packet. Does anybody have any corrections, comments, edits to those minutes? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, regular business, certificate of appropriateness 19-13, consideration with possible action on a design review for porch replacement at 818 South Jefferson Street. There is a report in the packet. Jason, would you like to give us a briefing on this one?
Sure. Here we have a map showing the location of the property. This is a picture of the property. That's the porch as it currently exists. As originally built, this was a Queen Anne cross-gabled form. The porch was a wraparound porch, so the entire front facade had a porch, and it wrapped around below what looks kind of like an octagonal window in a later enclosure in the front elbow of the house. The porch itself, I don't think there's any original components to it. And I say that because the columns are kind of too fine they're not beefy enough for original stuff. The spindles, handrails, these are all too tall. It's all been redone at some point. I was recommending approval of everything that had been proposed. We got clarification from either the owner or the contractor today, I think. It's going to be the round columns, the round spindles, and the round cut shingles in the bottom right, which would all be appropriate for a Queen Anne style house, recognizing that we're replacing non-historic material with additional non-historic material. I had no objections to any of this. So, recommendation is for approval of everything. Specifically round columns, round spindles, and round cut shingles in the gable end.
Good. Discussion? Hearing none, does somebody want to make a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, motion to approve as written. We got a vote on this one. There it is.
That was approved unanimously.
Okay, COA 19-13 approved. Next item on the agenda, item D2, is certificate of appropriateness 19-15, consideration with possible action on a design review for garage door replacement, railing installation, and soffit and fascia work at 816 Shawano Avenue.
So this is in a different historic district on the west side. It's kind of fun. There you have it on the map. I mean, we talk about astral thing, right? So near the corner of Shawano and North Oakland. This is a picture of the house. It is contributing. It's an American Foursquare. It's wood.
I am present as well. I'm the representative for this one.
Bill did.
Okay.
So the picture at the top left there is a picture that was taken in 1988 or 89 at the time of the National Register nomination. Here within the last few years, the HPC reviewed a request to remove that carport and awning over the front window, which was not historic. The two pictures of the house, bottom left and top right, those were taken in May of this year. The one at the top right shows the damage to the gutter area near the front of the house. And then that photo in the bottom right is just to illustrate, we have original beadboard soffits and presumably wooden fascia behind those K-style gutters. So we're dealing with 4 issues here: replacing a garage door. I recommend approval. Garage door is not historic, doesn't contribute to the historic integrity of the property, no problem. There's some second-story railing on the back of the house to replace failed second-story railing on the back of the house. That failed railing wasn't historic as far as I can tell. The new stuff isn't historic. Replacing non-historic material with new material, I see no problem there. Recommend approval, noting also that it's not visible from a public right-of-way. The gutters, proposing to replace K-style gutters with new K-style gutters. I have no complaints against that. Recommend approval, noting, of course, that if original gutters were present, they were probably half-round profile, not this K-style. The soft and fascia, it's been proposed to replace that with metal with aluminum. My recommendation is not to proceed with that, given that the house has got all wood exterior siding, most of it original, and those soffits are original wood beadboard. But, you know, it's up to you to weigh just how valuable wooden soffits are as opposed to proposed aluminum replacement. So my recommendation is to deny that, but, you know, please discuss.
Since the property owner's here, do we want to open up the floor for comment?
Motion open floor.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We have looked into the soffit and fascia. To replace the wood would cost in excess of $12,000, and we don't financially have that ability. We did talk with Creative Home Technologies, who will do the fascia, soffit, and gutter, all in aluminum for about half of that. And if approved, that's what we'd be going with, was to wrap it in aluminum. The entire house is not all wood. Outside of the back balcony, there is galvanized metal that you cannot see in any of those photos.
And what was your name?
Steve Peters?
What is the condition of the fascia and soffit?
It's to the point where the wood isn't worth replacing. It's rotten in many spots. Just from getting close to it and checking it, it probably can't be salvaged and saved.
And did you say that the entirety of the house is metal siding?
No, there's a few small spots on the back the balcony that's getting the railing underneath, and none of those pictures even show the balcony. But where the balcony overhangs, I guess it would be the access to the garage. There's metal.
Yeah, I suppose so. I generally don't go and investigate anything that I can't see from a public right-of-way, so. From my perspective, this is all I see. It's wood, and there may be something that's not wood tucked away in a different view.
Are they gonna remove the wood soffits, or are they just gonna go over the top of
I
it?
believe they're gonna do an aluminum wrap over them. I would prefer to save the wood as well, but it financially just is not worth it in the condition that it's currently in.
Any other questions for the property owner? Any other comments you'd like to put forth?
No, I just was hoping that everything would be approved, honestly.
Have a motion to close the floor?
Motion to close the floor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other discussion on this?
I agree with Jason on all the items. I'm not real excited about losing that wood soffit, but we can appreciate the cost.
It seems like there's a lot of elements of the property that are non-original. Um, I mean, the beadboard siding under the soffit. Do I understand that it's going the length of the house as opposed to out from the house?
Yeah, it meets up at a 45 at the corners, and it runs parallel to the facade, I suppose.
Is the intent to go the short direction on the soffit material? Like from the house to the edge of the gutter?
I know which way you're saying, but I'm not certain how they plan to do it. I did get an estimate from them to do the fascia, soffit, and gutters all as one project.
I
And
mean,
it
it does the
doesn't,
same
it doesn't
amount of
clarify
material.
if they're gonna be doing the fascia that runs with the current current direction of it, or if it's gonna be the new style short that runs perpendicular to the way it
Right.
is.
I'd be more inclined to have it run the length of the building as it does currently.
As the original does.
Right.
And that I could talk to them about and find out for sure which way they plan to run it.
I see the two of them running it along the rafters, so you still have that, like that. And so they
Well,
don't just do a,
In
like a
these
right angle.
pictures, it runs
The length.
this direction
Yeah.
along this wall and then
Yeah.
this direction along this wall.
Yep.
And even in this picture, you can see how rotted it is in the corner, and there's a spot there that's really bad. And there should be some, that one, you can see some of the spots that are bad too, mostly on the
What I'm
picture.
talking about is, so here's the roof, and it would follow like that. It wouldn't be dropping it down, so it's, the bottom of that is at a right angle. Is it,
It'll still be the same as it is now, it won't be dropped down any further.
okay.
And I believe, yes, it is a right angle there to the roof.
Look in the pictures,
Note
it's,
the
it's pretty tall,
ventilation.
I was thinking it.
That's too, so I don't know if you're proposing that they put vent holes in the same spots, or if they're cutting and destroying what still remains of the soffit.
So you have bottom picture.
So there's attic ventilation in the soffit in certain areas, like a little grill work piece. It could be that covering the existing soffit could be seen as kind of encapsulating it and saving it for the future, should
Right.
anybody want to resurrect it. I don't know if installing the new stuff means that somebody will be drilling big holes to ventilate the attic, or...
Is it a perforated?
I believe they're also putting in the existing vents through the new soffit.
Yeah. I'd make that motion to approve as presented, except for the approval of the soffit material as presented by the owner in the direction, to be laid in the direction that the current soffit material is laid.
And if I can get them to do that, then it's good to do.
That's my proposal.
And with that, do I need a building permit as well?
Let's close this action first.
Okay.
I I'd second that. Are you,
Is that a motion?
is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Yeah, I'll
Just
second it.
Motion include the garage door railings and.
Yeah, the rest of it as presented.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion on the motion that's been seconded? Hearing none, I guess, call for a vote.
I think that was the fastest we had this week. So we'll follow up with you on what comes next.
Okay, with that, can I find out which stuff I need the
Yep, we'll send you that in a letter.
permits?
Mhm.
Okay, because I was hoping to get those today before I went home, so I could actually sign the contractors that I have ready to do the
Oh, no,
work.
we won't be able to do it today, probably tomorrow morning.
Okay, that's, all right.
Okay, next item on the
We
agenda.
close at 4:30 anyway.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda, D3, Certificate of Appropriateness 19-17, consideration with possible action on a design review for a porch renovation located at 726 Law Street.
Here's an aerial view. We're in Astor again. It is the corner lot of Law and South Jackson. Big Dutch colonial revival. Ian, I think you know a lot of the history on this one.
Yes, he did.
Big wraparound porch. The owner has probably wisely replaced the understructure for the porch deck and is in the process of, or has completed putting down the mostly original tongue and groove.
Yeah, that's not done yet, but yeah, it's
Okay.
the original stuff, yeah.
Tongue and groove deck material. A lot of things here have been approved by staff. I think the question before the Landmarks Commission is approval of the porch steps and the plan to address the soffit. So here you see the porch steps. I think we're a one-piece concrete
Yeah.
unit, not historic. And the soffit, I can't squint well enough even in
They're
person. Is
covered
that
with the red aluminum covering on it, yeah.
currently covered in aluminum? So the proposal is to build wooden steps, more accurate historically speaking, and to uncover the soffits and deal with it as you
Yep.
discover what the condition is. I've recommended approval of both the soffit plan and the porch steps. I note that the proposed porch steps call for tongue and groove material.
That we're open with, so whatever is the most historically accurate, I'm fine with, so it doesn't, I
Yes.
don't care.
Typically, it would be a board or two boards. Or what I've seen that's very fetching is a wide board, a really narrow board, and then another wide board.
So whatever's the most historically accurate, I'm absolutely fine with.
All of that is fine. The tongue and groove, I just have a hesitation that I think you're gonna regret it in the long run because any foot traffic on the snow and the ice is gonna drive that moisture in there and it'll be a maintenance issue. But,
Yeah, like I said, so whatever's most historic, I'm good with, doesn't matter.
so staff recommends approval of the soffit plan and really whatever you wanna do with wood steps.
So the only thing on the notes I didn't catch was, it said it was approving the roof of the porch with shingles. The roof of the porch is actually rubber, because it's the
Okay.
flat section,
Oh,
but I need the rest of the roof approved, because I have to replace the roof unfortunately.
okay, I guess that wasn't entirely clear to me, maybe my mistake, I don't know.
So I
The
need to
roof is
replace
a-
the roof, so I have a certainteed, one of
Sure.
the ones the state typically does, a certainteed shingle, and then I'm proposing the galvanized ridge vent per the original plans of the house.
Yeah, we can approve that at the staff level if you haven't already.
Either way is fine.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve. Seconds presented.
Any other discussion? Okay, I think we're ready for a vote then.
The state likes it if your ridge vent goes all the way to the end of the roof, not, like a foot back from the edge of the roof.
Okay, yeah, all the way in, that's ways and things too, so that's fine. No problem.
No issues.
Does he have some food?
Okay, we're on a roll.
Not 13 minutes, really.
Next item on the agenda is item D4, Certificate of Appropriateness 19-18, consideration with possible action on a design review for a new garage located at 638 South Monroe Avenue. Jason?
Yes, so this property is, I don't know if I could informally call it the gateway to Astor, downtown being just to the north on South Monroe Street. So you see it there in the center of the yellow circle, just as a talking point, the house is predominantly stucco. The apartment building to the northeast is stucco. The house on the corner to the southwest is stucco and brick. Here's a picture of the house. It appears that the stucco has all been updated. And in the second story, as best I can tell, it's a paneling type material with a simulated half timber something. I don't know exactly, like strips of metal. It's all well and good. You see the garage as it currently exists there at the bottom right, kind of a one-story, two-stall garage. The proposed plans for the garage call for a vinyl clapboard siding, 1.5-story garage. A couple of additional plans, that's great. There were other requests there. I'm recommending approval of a new concrete driveway. It's not going to be significantly different from what's currently there, except generally nicer. Recommending approval of a proposed new rear entry stoop, recognizing that it's entirely hidden from view to all public right-of-way. I'm recommending that you discuss the garage. I have no real basis to say that you have two competing forces. One saying that any new addition or alteration should be clearly recognizable as a new thing. And this garage satisfies that. On the other hand, you have this desire to have a garage, in this case, that to borrow an architectural term, carries on a conversation with the surrounding buildings and their styles. I don't know that the proposed garage carries on any conversation with anything in that area. But does it need to? I don't know. So this is one of those where I punt, you guys figure it out. I kind of casually recommended that you could consider a stucco exterior on the garage, or here you see at the gable ends, these clipped gables, these jerkin head gables. You know, that's a stylistic element that could be echoed in the garage. You see this kind of half timbering effect. That's another stylistic element that could be mirrored on the garage with paneling instead of the vinyl siding. And I'm not saying, all of these things added up to be a good thing. I'm saying any one of these things would contribute to some sort of aesthetic language between the buildings that you may or may not find valuable. I don't know. So that's up to you.
Do we have representatives?
Yeah. We redid the house about 3-4 years ago.
I just need a motion to.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We redid the home about 4 years ago and did an elastomeric EFIS coating over the existing stucco. We removed a lot of stucco that was spalling and falling off the building. And that's held up really well. The upper portion is a panel product, LP, Louisiana Pacific. It's kind of a pressed, waterproof siding board that has wood texture, and the brown verticals are another LP product, but the horizontals and the fascia are brown aluminum fascia. The windows were fiberglass brown. Using the same windows on the garage is what's on there. The fascia and the garage door. Yep, the fascia, the garage door are the dark brown, like the trim on the windows. The existing garage door is a dark brown, so that dark brown is really being punched out by the garage door, in my opinion, but the fascia and the trim details, the gutters, they're all brown as well. The vinyl siding is a tan, which, I'm going over there after this to make sure this is the right, but we're going to match the stucco color with the vinyl siding. So you still have the same general feel of color without, vinyl siding is $2.30 a square foot. We put stucco on there. There's a $25,000 bill. So, you know, if we did some of the board and batten in the gable end, that would be attractive. I mean, I'm not gonna say it won't add cost. This garage is already costing $45,000. One of the statements we did toward the existing home is to make it a 12-12 roof pitch and actually put some space up there that he can use. Now, right now, the pitch is, I think, a 412 gable, and it has nothing to relate the house to the garage. There is stucco on the garage. It's just gonna fall down. So, I mean, we can't really, it's non-salvageable building right now.
The whole garage, not
The whole
salvageable.
garage, the garage slab, everything is just in shambles. Even took the garage door off last year because it was just gonna hurt to fall off. But, I mean, those are, I think the roof and the colors generally are what we're trying to match it to the house with, without, you know, he's already in the red as far as value of this house compared to the neighbors that are selling right now. And he's a professor at GB, he's gonna be there for a long time, so he's not totally concerned, but he is going out on a limb with $44,000 garage and driveway. That's part of that cost. Is the driveway.
The color hadn't been specified in
Right.
the application, so that's
Yeah.
good information to.
There's a really, you know, once you get to the end of the house, from the house to the garage, it slopes down about 1.5 feet toward the garage door. And we're gonna raise that grade up, so there's almost zero slope, but we can't, it's touchy because we're 30 inches from the setback, or from the property line. So there's really hardly any drainage we can do. We have to keep it right on the side of the building, try to keep it on the site. You know, there's some challenges that way, but, so some of that cost is just making it a better house overall, the garage, driveway situation. That's my 2 cents.
And the garage is only really visible straight down the driveway. It's hidden by the apartment building to the right in this picture, and by the house itself to the left, so.
There was obviously some masonry work that was done.
Yeah, the insulator's backed into that brick element when we were fixing the house and shoved the whole thing off the foundation, and we had to rebuild it. We use the same brick, fortunately.
The mortar is a little,
Right.
right.
I know. We didn't, well, it wasn't the whole thing. That was the original mortar. It was just, I don't know. I can't remember. It's not, the entire brick wasn't replaced. It was tuck pointed and patched and where it had cracked.
I did pick up on the 12-12 roof pitch. I think that is a much better solution, that the garage will match the front of the house better.
Yeah.
One thing I would point out is if we do accept the aluminum fascias and vinyl siding, there's no trim around the window. And I think if they trimmed around the window, that would match the aesthetics of the house much better.
Yeah.
If you look at the house elevation, there's I'll just say a 4-inch window
Strong.
trim surround around all the windows. And I
Yeah.
think that should be considered, because then I think that would tie it back to the house a little bit better.
Okay.
In addition to trying to match the proportions and the mutton pattern on the window of the garage with what's on the front of the house. I'm not sure if that window pattern in the drawing of the garage is the same.
Is it a 6/6 as opposed to 4/4?
I believe 6/6 is what's on the
I
front of
think
the house.
so.
Six in the
I
front,
noticed
yeah.
that too.
That's a good point.
But then you don't want to create a false sense of historic continuity either, right?
No, yeah, I think that's
You know, the
fine.
vinyl siding.
Right, no, obviously, yeah, but I mean, we don't have to run that risk here. That was
Oh.
something that came up and, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, we're not doing
yeah,
stucco.
months ago.
So the windows on the house
It's funny, those two things are always opposing each other.
Appears to be either 6/6 or 8/8.
Yes, I was
Oh,
just
they're-
looking at the picture.
They're 8/8, I think.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be older.
I'd entertain a motion. Yeah.
Motion to close the floor.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I also
Uh,
get the name of the speaker? I'm sorry.
Chad Cornett.
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve as presented with the modification that the windows, the window mullion pattern match that of the front of the house, either 6/6 or 8/8, wherever it happens to be. And then the trim board around the window. And I believe that was it.
I'll second that.
Including the driveway and the stoop.
Correct, as presented.
Any additional comments? I think we're ready for a vote.
It's approved unanimously.
All right, all items on the regular business are taken care of. Thank you for everybody that attended the meeting. On to item E, informational. This will be staff level certificate of appropriateness applications.
Staff received requests for COAs and approved COAs for a new roof at 827 South Quincy. Partial new roof at 736 South Madison.
Yeah, it was only the flat section for that, though it sounds like he might come back and do the full roof replacement in the next year or so, but that was only the flat section.
And then storm door to replace a non-historic storm door at 716 Dousman, as well as chimney repair / reconstruction at 716 Dousman. And I don't think you can hardly see the chimney there. It's on that dormer on the right facing it. The brick had spalled to the point of being less than a brick. A bar of soap after you used it up pretty much. I didn't see any real path forward other than replacing that brick with new brick that looked about the same, so. Nothing too scary about any of it.
We need a motion to accept these on file.
I'll make that.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Review city raise and repair orders and demolitions.
We have a raised repair order against 1430 Kurtz. When I went out to take a look in late May, I noticed that they were spending a lot of money on it. I presume they're gonna fix it up. So there's some foundation issues. You see a lot of cement block and a big hole revealing the current foundation. They're investing in this. I don't think it's a real threat of coming down. Even if it was, I don't know that it's a loss to the historic fabric of the community that will reverberate far and wide. This one's the potential heartbreaker, but I'm okay with it.
I've shown that house several times, and the last time I was in there was after a big rain back in March, and there were literally mushrooms growing on the living room walls. It was just incredible, and the wood floor started to warp. Before that, it was kind of bad with some mold, but then after that one, because there was active rough leaks there, it was just coming right down. It's really sad about that house.
These houses on East Shore Drive are just to the east of Bay Beach Park. They're the handful of houses right along that same stretch of shoreline. This particular house in the photo on the right, that's what you see from the public right-of-way, which is nothing. Photo on the left comes to us from a 1972 newspaper advertisement. In that photo on the left, you can see there's a one-car garage, far left, and then
The
some...
garage is gone now.
The garage is
sorry,
gone.
Jumped and gone there.
The accessory in-law structure shed on the far right, that's also gone. The only reason I want to talk about this a little bit more is because The 1988 intensive survey report identified this house as probably the finest example of Art Moderne residential architecture in the city of Green Bay. Things have changed. I went trespassing. Put that on record. The photo at the top left, you see a concrete pad where the garage used to be, but this is the house. Bottom left is the front of the house taken from the position of a concrete pad where that accessory structure used to be. Top center is kind of the back of the house. Top right, I put the camera up to the window, you see a fireplace on the left, you see a pile of plaster on the floor on the right.
Yeah, that's when the ceiling caving in, then that right wall is where that mushroom farm is.
Yeah. Typical windowsill detail, bottom center.
Somebody write an offer.
Kind of a neat example of Art Moderne architecture. It's got these vertical boards bolted to the facade on the front and rear. I'd call them like racing stripes or fins or something. You know, they serve no purpose other than to be cool. They were pretty cool. They're wood. They're not looking so good today. My hunch is that, you know, it was never added to the National Register of Historic Places. My hunch is that it's lost a lot of integrity since it was identified as perhaps the finest example of Art Moderne residential architecture in the city back in 1988. It's got a race repair order against it. Also, it's in a floodplain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a driving factor in how the city wants to address this property. I think under local law, they can't invest more than 50% of the value in fixing it up. And this is gonna take more than 50% of not a lot to make it more than not a lot.
You also have to raise it out of the floodplain, and this lot is not large enough to do the sloping that you would need to do to not have drainage issues on all the surrounding properties too. So it would be a
That's-
very costly investment.
Why do you have to
Well,
raise
this-
it out?
This
If it's the
parcel
50%
actually
rule.
has, this actually has three parcels there, whole thing, and I think the frontage is at least 100 feet, but I don't know what the elevation is, how much fill you'd have to bring in.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and you do have wider setbacks when it's floodplain.
So it has a lot of strengths against it, but it was something.
Yeah, it's really,
Susan, you know what the listing was for?
they're like around 124 or so. They did a couple price reductions. I wrote an offer, didn't come together, and before they had all the really serious damage. The estate just should have taken it. And then that buyer was all set to renovate that house and bring it back to what it was, so it's really just a shame about that.
You must see to appreciate
Yeah.
in
I was just trying to
1972.
find my mushroom pictures. I think it was actually last September, after all the rain last September. I think it was last September.
So
Oh,
as
yeah,
a
here it is.
pragmatist, I recognize that our ordinance
Absolutely.
states, just like every other ordinance in the country, that
Yeah.
preservation is a public good. I want you to
But this
focus
is
on the
straight
photograph on the right there
back.
because the public good served is this view from the public right of way.
Who's the owner?
It's an estate sale. Yeah, and I believe it's a niece who lives out of state is handling the sale.
So I don't know that the public good is served by going to the map for this one. But if anybody thinks it is, then you
Okay,
should
this is that living room wall.
speak up about it.
That was last September.
It's doomed.
It's the first time I saw mushrooms growing on a wall.
Is that a
It's
feature or a?
funny. Yeah. They're like little shelves, you know, you can display your thimble collection.
Yeah, some mushrooms are very valuable.
It's a shame to lose it, but I'm not sure what choice you have at this point. It seems, well, let's hope that the Landmarks Commission, now that it has some teeth, will prevent these from happening 25 years from now, 30 years from now.
Well, in that sense, this is a good example of where it's not on the National Register, but perhaps the Landmarks Commission would want to, after we do our new intensive survey, get a handle on what things are eligible but not yet listed. You do have it in your authority to intervene at this point and say you would take this under consideration for local designation, but again, I don't know that you want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. But that's why we bring these to you. Yes.
Yeah, it's too bad that the house is this far gone.
Mm-hmm.
It actually came to our attention as a possible designation years ago,
Right.
but then we didn't have the teeth to do anything.
Any
Do we have to
questions?
do anything with this one? or just-
Just receive and place on file the entire report.
Are there other,
No,
was this the?
it was that and 1430 Kurtz.
Make a motion to place them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Want a staff update?
I have nothing.
No, but maybe getting a loan application?
Oh, yes, we did receive another historic preservation revolving loan application.
Great.
So our goal is to have 2 more this year, or 2 total this year, so we received 1 for a full paint job on Madison. I've not looked at it yet, so, but I think we'll be getting another one from one of the people who attended our historic tax credit workshop that we did with DePere and Alloway. So we should be able to meet our goal of 2 this year.
Fantastic. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I know.